Resume recording. All right, Christopher, how is everybody? Everybody is good? All right, good. So, and who remembered where we finished off in last class? In last class, we finished off with a nice little past paper question on instruments of exchange. Okay, who remember that? And we just finished off on this question here, stating the two characteristics of money. And the answer were scarcity, acceptability, portability, durability, and divisibility. So before I move on to other instruments of exchange, such as checks, credit cards, which we covered, I want to do a nice little question here on check. So who can see my screen? Can everybody see my screen? I have a little past paper here from 2025. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? All right, good. Okay, so in this past paper, we have, and you see how these past paper questions coming up, they could be a little tricky. They would like to test you on almost everything that they can in that 2 hours. So we have a question, we have a nice little diagram here. All right, good. Now you can see my screen. Just wanted to pull this up, pull up my pencil. So the question is, this is a diagram of a check, and we have some information shown on this check here. And we have here, it says that the check is, we have a name here, Sunshine Commercial Bank. This is the date. The amount is $6,000. The person signing the check is Kimani Clark over here. And then we have ABC Traders. And the question is, identify the drawer of the check in figure 1. Now, before we get into the answers here, does everybody remember from last class when we spoke about the PE, the drawer, and the drawee? Everybody remember what is a PE, what is a drawer, and what is a drawee? All right, so Celeste says yes, she remembers, so I don't need to go over that. Okay, so the question is identify the drawer sign. Okay, good. Identify the drawer of the check in figure 1. So real quick, any chat, who could tell me who is the drawer of the check? Mayday said ABC Traders. Actually, that is incorrect. So come on. Like this one tripping all up. This one tripping all up. First time in my 2 weeks of being here, I'm seeing persons giving me a range of answers and not the correct answers. Some saying Sunshine Commercial Bank, some saying Kimani Clark, some saying, right? Okay, okay. Now I'm seeing you guys coming in with the answers. All right. So real quick, just giving those the stars who need the stars. Good job, Jonathan. Good. Yes, sure. Good job. Sapphire, good job. Celeste. Hazia, yeah, asking what you're telling me. Sapphire, good answer. Kelvin, good. Okay, so let me just go back to the slides real quick. We have here, if you all remember, from this nice little chart here, this nice little diagram, if you all could, if it's one thing, you all could try to remember these. All right, Amanda, that is Great way of putting the answer across. Not sure why the fonts are so big, but excellent. Danielle, excellent. So all of those from last class, for those of you who are here, you will remember that we have the drawer is more or less the person who signs off on the check, meaning whose account is the money leaving from. Okay, it's the person whose funds, whose account the funds are leaving from. So in this, and most of the times you identify it as the signature, the person who signs off on it, right? And then in another slide, I would have said the drawee is more or less um, the bank that is usually responsible. The drawee is the bank responsible, and the payee is the person who's entitled to the payment or who's receiving the payment. Okay. Now, with that being said, we will now, I think many of us now, we just need a little refresher, right? Just need a little refresher now and then. That's okay. I know these questions are coming a little bit unannounced and you may be unprepared, but we have to keep repeating these questions and making sure that you all have the right answers, okay? So the correct answer will be Kimani Clark, for those of you who said it, okay? Moving on, second part of the question is, identify the drawee of the check. Now we went over the what drawee and payee are. So let me just go back to the check real quick, the diagram again, okay? So we would say, for the most part, the drawee would be a bank or a financial institution. Okay, I'm still seeing people still saying ABC traders, but the correct answer would be the drawee is, and most times it would be the financial institution. In other words, the funds, the institution that is more or less responsible to pay and the payee. So in other words, what's happening here is that the $6,000 is coming out of Kimani's the draw account, and it goes to the bank. The bank will hold it. The bank will hold those funds until ABC traders goes to the bank and say, hey, here what? I'm requesting the $6,000 that Mrs. Clark was holding for me. I'm here now to receive it. So that is kind of like how it works. It goes from the drawer's account into the drawee or the bank. And then from the bank, it goes to the payee, right? Everybody got that? So Sunshine, who said Sunshine, excellent, excellent. Somebody said ABC, unfortunately. Let me, Daijahani, I hope I pronounced that correct. See, unfortunately, that's not the correct answer, Mayday. All right, Alija. All right, everybody got it, all right. Okay, so I'm just giving all of those. Got it correct. Levi got it correct. Sapphire got it correct. Reagan is asking. You gotta say the answer. It's me from the IT class. It's me. Hey, hey, you, Song. Daniel, how you going? I remember you from IT class. All right, good. Good, good, good. And obviously, the third part of the question, obviously, they'll ask you, list 3 instruments of payment other than checks used in modern economies. And that's a question for 2 marks. For 2 marks, they want you list 3 instruments of payment. Okay, so you see how easy it is to get marks in the final exam. All right, so going back to the slide, The answer can more or less be found in this slide here, where I have all the instruments of exchange. And you could either memorize it or we just want three. And we just want three that are used in the modern economy, right? The important word that they said was modern. So Sapphire said money. I would say, let's think for a second, modern. So when you say modern, let's think about what do you and people that you know use. Many of us use credit cards, right? Many of us use debit cards. So that's two, right? We can't say really say check because they already gave us check as an example. And so we kind of remained with either mobile money or money, telebanking, debit card, credit card, money order, or we could say banknotes. We could say bank transfer, electronic funds transfer. We could say coins and banknotes, right? So you have to list three of them, okay? No, we can't say treasury bill, unfortunately. Treasury bill is to use, you can't really use that as a over-counter transaction. We'll just keep it safe and say credit card, debit card, that's one and two. We could say electronic transfers, electronic fund transfers for the third one. Bill of exchange, yes, you can say bill of exchange. Okay, not receipts. Somebody said receipts, unfortunately. E-commerce is not an instrument of exchange, actually. It's not. So we more or less have to go with what's on this chart here. Sorry, in this table here, and just use the modern ones. All right, good. Now, believe it or not, we are more or less finished with instruments of exchange, with money orders, with electronic transfers, with checks, with barter, okay? Characteristics of money. So that's one topic finished. So in essence, and let me just pull up the slides here with the answers so you all could, I will be sharing these slides late afterwards, but let me just pull up the solutions here for you all, just to take a screenshot if you wish. Somebody said coin credit cards and bartering. And cannot use bartering is not really part of the modern economy. Telegram, PayPal, and not instruments of exchange. Those are actually electronic transfers or mobile money. I don't know why my computer is freezing up. Hold on. Hold on. All right. Okay. So I just pull up the solutions here real quick. The draw E. Sorry. Y'all could see my screen now. Okay. So real quick, the solution is the draw E in figure one is anneal, all right? Anneal, Daniel, or Dianneal. Oh, I get it. And for question two, the drawee of the check is Sunshine Commercial Bank, the institution responsible for paying the amount. And the listing of three instruments will be the debit cards, which is funds from the bank account deducted directly, or credit cards, which will be borrowed funds, and it's a limited amount. And we could either use electronic funds transfer, also coins and banknotes. I'm not sure why the YouTube is not coming up. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's try that. Sometimes they just put the U2 on, sometimes they don't. Don't know why they do that. Okay, right, Levi got it. What about trading? Actually, trading is essentially uh you have to fund the account first, either through some online banking or a credit card or electronic funds transfer. So trading is not a form of exchange, it's just a form of speculation, but it's not an instrument of exchange. All righty, good. So if we have no more questions concerning bartering, mediums exchange, we are now going into this fun topic. My least favorite topic, but still a fun topic of public sector and private sector. Who could tell me if you have done this in class before, or if this is a topic that gives you trouble, or is this just easy stuff? Okay, I'm so sorry about that. My computer froze up, so I'm back. I am back. All right, so I asked a question, and some of you said that, nah, man, public sector and private sector is easy stuff. All right, we'll find out in a few slides later on when I give you all a very fun quiz. And Alicia, you said it easy. Pravesh, easy, right? Yifan, easy. Hazia, easy. All right, good, good, good. So I expect when I pull up the quiz, dreams, all right? For those, I can't wait, right? You're all gonna score 100 in the little quiz I'm gonna give you, right? Um, You don't have to write down anything. These slides will be sent out, okay? Okay, good. Josiah said it. Public sector is funded by the government, private sector. Excellent, excellent. So we jump in it. Government-related things. All right, we will see. So private versus public sector. Now, there are two main sectors of the economy, right? There are two main sectors, and I want you all pay a little attention to this word sector. Okay. For the sake of CXC and in PoB, if they talk about the word sector, just know that they are asking you, well, when they refer to this word sector, just bear in mind that they would like you to differentiate between private sector and public sector, right? Okay, just pay attention to that, put a little pin on that. And the two sectors are either private and public. Economy, what is an economy? An economy is a system in which production, which is making goods, distribution, moving goods, because of course, when you make the good, when you make the goods, so let's just say, for example, you make aluminum. You make aluminum in your factory. After you make that aluminum in your factory, it has to go to the customer. Many times the customer not coming to pick up the aluminum. So well, actually, they do sometimes. So either the customer comes to pick it up or you drop it off for the customer, and that is known as distribution. So after you produce the goods, you have to distribute it, and which is moving the goods around the system, and then after it reached by the customer, what happens is consumed. So is the use of goods takes place. So that's essentially one important element of an economy, which is when you produce something, how does it get to the customer or the user or the consumer, and how does the consumer now use that product? Good so far? Everybody following? All right. So yeah, so these slides will be uploaded. Mr. Senano will upload it on his website, or however he distributes it, right? Okay. Now, private sector. What do we mean by private sector? And Yufan and Josiah would have more or less dropped the answers already. They would have said that. Who was the third person? I can't remember who's the third person who said it. But what I've more or less said, I mean, let's go back a real quick there for Daniela. Y'all could just take a screenshot to one time, right? If you can't really wait on it. Take a little screenshot. Okay. Okay, now I'm moving forward, right? So private sector, we're just gonna talk about the private sector for a little while. And the private sector consists of small, medium, and large scale businesses. So in other words, all types of businesses, right? And these companies are owned by individuals who would have set up their own sole trader. They might have set up their own partnership, and they are more or less the owners of the company. So they are companies or businesses that are owned by individuals or groups of individuals. Okay, we got that? That's the private sector. And these individuals would have set up private businesses, especially to earn a profit. Okay, so let's pause on this sentence here. And I would like to emphasize on this because this is a very defining integral definition of the private sector. Any question that you see coming up concerning profits in your PoB exam, just know that they're talking about the private sector. So it's important for a business to earn a profit. Now, tell me, why should a business earn a profit? Like, why? Why? I mean, why? Why must a private business earn a profit? Is it that they do it for the love of it? Or is it's essential? Come on, any comments? Somebody give me something. So, right, so somebody has great said so they can expand their business. Okay, that's a good one. Now give me 1 second. I'll jump to the rest now, right? Personal gain and to make funds to continue run their business, right? Good. To expand so they don't go bankrupt. Good. That's a good answer. So they can invest more. Excellent answer, right? So they can gain money. That's a good answer. But I would say profit business should have a profit to do the essential stuff exactly to enhance the company exactly. So why should I eat food when I can throw it away? Okay, not sure what that is about. To make the business grow so they can stay employed, right? Good, increase profits, right? To create more services. I will go back to the previous slide just now. To pay workers, love this one. To has here, that's a good one. To pay workers so they can operate the business. Exactly. So we have some good answers here to operate, to expand, right? Expand the business. That's why it's important to expand to pay your employees. If you don't pay your employees, they will not come back, right? Pay your employees. That's very important. Pay your employees and wages, right? I would say to expand and to pay off, right? To pay bills, operate, expand, and to invest, right? I mean, why else go go into business? Because believe me, there's no award in business. There's no reward or award in business when you go bankrupt. So therefore, there's no award when you lose a profit, when you don't make a profit. Okay, to upgrade, increase salaries. Exactly. So that's important. And it's also a great motivation as well for you as a business owner. If you know you're making a profit, guess what? Your quality of life improves. And when your life improves, people around you, their lives improves as well. And also when you make a profit, so let's just say, for example, you make the world's best hearing aids. Let's just say, for example, you have a business where you make hearing aids and is the best hearing aids in the world, and people are willing to pay 20%, pay you at 20% more for what it costs you to make those hearing aids. They're even willing to pay you 100% more. So in other words, if your hearing aids cost $10 to make, landed in your store after you, and customers are willing to pay $50 for it, because the hearing aids are the best hearing aids. You don't need a warranty really, and even if there's a warranty on it or anything goes wrong with the hearing aid, you fix it back for them or they get a replacement, right? The hearing aid recharges for itself. Okay, so that means sometimes a profit also means you have a very good service or a very good product, right? And it's hearing aids. That's a necessity for some people. It actually improves the lives of others. So if you are doing a profit so that you could improve um, your life and the life of the people around you, make sure your product and service does the same for your customers. All right. When that is done, everybody is happy and the economy does better, the community does better. Okay. Right. So we understand, we all have an appreciation of why a profit is essential, right? For private, yeah, right? Make your employees happy, make your customers happy, and they will come back. All right, good. Some people wanted to see the previous slide. Sorry, let me just go back real quick on the previous slide. Previous slide, this one, or is this one? Private sector. Take a screenshot quick. You all got your screenshot? Baliram, set to upgrade. Excellent. So, okay, so private sector businesses seek to anticipate customer requirements and to respond to the market in the form of demand and prices. Okay, now public sector. Public sector essentially enterprises run and owned by the government. In many countries, the government owns and runs key utilities such as the bus companies, the oil and gas, electricity companies, even sometimes even the banks as well, right? In Trinidad, the Water Authority, WASA of Trinidad and Tobago, that's a government owned enterprise, right? And that's what we call the public sector. Hospitals, yes. I don't have hospitals, so my goodness. Good one, Annalisa. Annalicia said hospitals. I don't know why hospitals wasn't there, but hospitals needs to be there. Well, public hospitals, right? There is actually something in Trinidad called private hospitals, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the public hospitals like Mount Hope. That's a public hospital, hospital, right? Somebody asked if a lot to boot. No, come on, Jonathan, seriously. Gonna give you a, or do I give you a not so smiley, angry face for that? Can't give you an angry face. Public sector. Um, so these are so think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Um, there are things that private individuals just can't do because if it was done, there would be no profit to be made, right? So let me say you really think if running a bus company or building roads in Trinidad, actually NLCB's that's uh that's a good question. I'll get to that one just now, okay? That's part of a state enterprise. So it is, but that's, I'll get in. Jonathan, that's a good question, but that's a bit part of the NLCB is like the services provided are private, but NLCB would be, part of it is government owned, right? So that's what we will call a state enterprise. But, okay. Sorry to, get distracted here by that question. So let's say, for example, building roads. Roads are very important. That's just how we get a lot of our goods from point A to point B. That's how we are able to get goods into the grocery, and that's how we are able to go to the grocery to get goods. That's how we are able to go to the hospital, go to schools, with roads. Now, building a road, there's no profit in it. Honestly, you build a road, you spend money on infrastructure, you spend money on gravel, you spend money on pitch and tar to build a road. And then after you build the road, you have to repair it. So there is no profit in that, but it's a part of the essential good of the country. Without good roads, we won't have a good economy. So there are some things, and there are not just some, there are many things, many utilities and services that need to be provided by the government, which do not return a profit. Okay? So hence, that is where the public sector comes in, and it is run by the government. So, and then we have hospitals, the same thing. Hospitals, we have schools, education as well. And the public sector do these, some of the things that the public sector do. They have the provision of goods and services. They cater to the entire population. Right. Good point, Kind. I'm going to get to that in a little bit, right? They provide, they cater to the entire population, provision of goods and services. So sometimes the goods could be school lunch as well, right? And services, as we would say, will be healthcare and education. Now, someone's made a very good point in the chat. It have a bridge. This person's Cheyenne said, there's a bridge in China, and if you want to go use that bridge or to use that road, you have to pay to use it. They sometimes call it a toll road or a toll bridge. So in certain countries, in many countries, you have to sometimes pay to use that road. So what happened was that the government started getting a little smart. They started to realize, but wait now, if we build a road and we getting no income from it, why don't we just build another road and charge people to use it? So, and they'll say, okay, well, if you do that, you get some income coming in, so your deficits are lower, your cash flow is a little bit better. So in some cases, that might actually be that'll still be a public venture, by the way, that'll still be a public, because Very rare that will be an all private venture, unless you own the jurisdiction. But once you talk about bridges and roads, you might be going across different countries or different counties and different municipalities, and that will still be a public venture. But guess what? They're making a profit. They make a profit. The cash flow is better. All right. So that will still fall under a public sector. So in many cases, in the public sector, they do not make a profit, but it does not stop them from trying. Okay, we all get that? Okay, so maybe let's make a quick note on that. Public sector do not necessarily not necessary to make a profit, but it does not necessary for a profit, but they still can they still can make a profit, but it's not the sole purpose. That's the point I was trying to make. Not the sole purpose of a profit. Now, I am making a point about that because there was actually a past paper question and try to confuse students as to, well, the sole purpose of X, Y, and Z is to make a profit, and they use the word sole purpose. Okay. Its cash flow is less. You have to dip less into the treasury or the taxpayers. Okay. So to use it to their advantage, I would say I would more or less say it's to so they don't have to dip into the taxpayer treasury or dip into the treasury or something, or in Trinidad we have a stabilization heritage fund. Okay, so moving on. But everybody is good so far? Any questions? Okay, so public sector, once again, we have national defense in there, we have education, and it's limited and or no competition. And you really think about it. And what do you mean by limited or no competition? Meaning, who's going to really go up against the government? Government technically has an unlimited budget compared to an individual. So if the government decide to build hospitals and you want to do a private hospital, you have no competition. Sorry, they have no competition unless the hospitals, there's such poor service that people have to go to private hospitals. Now, just a real quick note with on the point of hospitals, I think Alicia would have mentioned hospitals as public sector, but in the US, there are also private hospitals, and those private hospitals do operate at a profit, actually. So in Trinidad, there are also private hospitals, and in some countries, their public hospitals have such good service, private hospitals don't even stand a chance in competing because well, it's free. Okay, so hospitals, yes, it is a public sector, but just bear in mind to call it a public hospital. It's a public hospital. In some countries, it may apply or it may not apply. Yes, Southern Medical, you have Medical Associates. There are a few private hospitals in Trinidad. Okay, who provides also scholarships? Yes, the government do provide scholarships as well. All right, now private sector. Once again, the elements of a private sector. Someone said they had to set up an act and parliament. Do what set up what act of parliament? Exactly. Well, there's a public administration act, really. Okay, let's not go off scope. We don't need to know about that. Okay, so private sector. Once again, private sector to earn a profit. If a company does not earn a profit, it just won't survive. However, that's a huge differentiating factor of public sector. Okay, cater to a target market or niche market or niche market. Who here says niche and who here says niche? It's pronounced either way, niche or niche. That's one of the greatest debates ever. But essentially, target market or niche market basically means a part of the population or a certain percentage. Target market could be 90%, it could be 1% of the market share, but not 100%. A niche market or niche market is like very small. It could be 2%, it could be 1% of a market. It's a very specialized needs and services you are catering to. Okay? You need money to start a business, but you need money to make. So government gives you a small amount. Yes, there are some government grants as well people could apply for, but they'll have to register their business and they have to show business projections and all of that annual. Okay, of course, you need money to start a business. So somebody, and that's a good point. What do you call, I'm gonna ask you all a question. What do you call money? What is the term for, what is the term, what is the term used for money? I'm gonna ask money to start a business. What is the term used for money to start a business? Excellent. Guys, come on. I have a very, I have a good class today. Capital, the correct word is capital. Excellent. Just see it. Did I pronounce that? I have Shaka said it. Somebody said deposit. No, it's not a deposit. It is capital. You find capital. Good. I have a good class. I can't wait for you all to do the quiz. Gonna see some 100 marks here. Capital, Shivesh, capital, Amanda, Joshua, capital, excellent. Good, good, good. Reagan, Levi, excellent. Good. Faith, right? It's called a capital. So private sector, and that is a word that's going to come up a lot in exams and in your everyday life, especially when we're talking about publicly listed companies. Stefan, good. And we have competition amongst firms in the private sector. Once again, there's competition and competition can be fierce. Provide consumer goods. You have to provide consumer goods or services. And examples would be sole traders, partnerships, companies, franchises, and cooperatives. Now, yeah, capital could be in any form. So someone made a good point. Um, Capital cannot only just be money, it could be assets as well. So, some people, they could use land because land is after money. Land is important. Where are you going to locate? Where are you going to locate? Land and money, building, fundamental, and they are all capital. And then you have employees, that's what you call human capital. But and then there's intellectual capital as well. So capital can come in many forms. Capital could be money, it could be property, it could be real estate. Yeah, human capital, which will be your employees, and then we have intellectual capital, which is kind of like your patents and your trademarks as well. So capital, there are different classes of it. But money is also a form of capital used to start a business, and it can be used to grow a business. Okay, so just bear that in mind when we start going deeper into other topics. All right. So everybody good so far? You said, go back to previous slide, sorry. Well, that's a good point, Yafan. I'm glad you brought that up. And it's good to understand um, capital, cash, assets, um, liabilities, short-term assets, long-term assets. All right, good. Private sector and public sector. Now, again, examiners love to try and trip up students and to ensure that they know the difference between public sector and private sector. Make sure you can identify services offered by the public sector, such as healthcare, education, national defense, as well those offered by the private sector, such as banking and insurance. Once again, for the most part, and again, Trinidad, but in most countries, healthcare and education will be public. So we have all the schools, all the government schools. Those are all public, right? All the government schools, secondary schools, UE, that is a public sector, even though some classes you have to pay for, and some schools still require parents to pay, some students to pay for courses, but those are still public, right? So healthcare will be like the healthcare hospitals. So we have healthcare, which is our public hospitals, public hospitals. Anyone here, any chat not from Trinidad, by the way, because I'm using Trinidad as an example. And if you're not in Trinidad, are all of your hospitals, what country you are in, are all of your hospitals public, or are there some private hospitals as well? Just say what, mention one country and just answer all hospitals are public hospitals, or you don't know. Which one is it? Right? And then we have our roads, building of roads, building and repairing of roads, building, repairing, and repairing bridges as well, building roads and repairing bridges are all public, done by the public sector. Just only public hospitals, right? Someone said Tobago is all public, families, right? Good. Right? So there's bear that in mind, but for arguments, and just say public hospitals, right? And we'll say public schools, just to keep it simple, just to keep. So, and these will be for non-profit. Okay, so this is a chart here that is worth more or less memorizing. And yes, Levi Trinidad do have private hospitals. Medical Associates is one of them. Okay, we have West Shore as well as also a private hospital. Now, this chart here is worth memorizing or taking a screenshot. And just bear in mind, these are the motives of operating in the public sector. Left-hand side, motives. Now we say motives, motives, very important, because provision of goods and services, that's a motive, and it serves the entire population. Can you use capital to invest in numbers? Yeah, for sure. Annalisha, I will discuss that a little bit later, to invest in a business. Yes, capital is of, now when you say invest in a business, you have to ask yourself, at what stage in your business are you looking at doing it? Are you just using that capital to buy shares, or are you using that capital to grow the business in the form of working capital? Okay. Yeah, correct. So somebody here up from the west. All right. So motives of operating a public, any public sector. It serves the entire population. There's no niche market. There's no targeting. It's 100% of the entire population will need access to that. Provide public and merit goods such as education and national defense, the army, public sector, okay? And it's limited or no competition. It's really hard for somebody else to come and say, I am going to compete against the government or the public sector and provide a better service. It's very rare. It's very rare that they would succeed. Okay. Now, this on the right-hand side, we have motives of operating in the private sector. And this is the first one, once again, to earn a profit. They love to ask these questions. They love to, they just love to, the examiners just love to make sure that students know that the motive, once again, the motive or the primary goal of private sectors to earn a profit, cater to a target market or niche market. So let me just make a quick, just clarify on what target and niche market is. So who here can tell me what so in the grocery and the grocery supermarket sells everything, almost everything. Well, everything you can consume. They have they have food, they have cereal, they have water, they have soft drink, they have vegetables. Okay. Name one, who can name one item in grocery that everybody buys? Everybody buys. Who could tell me one item that everybody buys, that goes in the grocery and buy? Okay, so somebody said meat. Okay, so I guess vegetarians go into the grocery and buy meat, right? You'll see a vegetarian say, hey, I want some I want some chicken, right? Somebody said cornflakes. Okay, cornflakes. Not everybody wants cornflakes. Some people can't eat cornflakes because they have a gluten issue. Okay, somebody said salt. There are some people who can't eat salt, like people have high blood pressure. Milk. Not everybody buys milk. Um, there are people who are lactose intolerant. Somebody said water. You'll never hear a child say they want water. Okay? The point is I'm trying to make is this. Somebody said toilet paper. We could debate that. I don't buy toilet paper. I use it, but I don't buy it. All right. But the point is I'm trying to make. There is not one thing that everybody will buy any grocery every single time. You'll buy the toilet paper, but you'll buy it once every whenever you need to restock. Okay. Not everybody eats rice, right? So target market is basically there is not target market means part of the population. Not everybody is going to buy milk, but for the few who buys milk, so let's say they're Nestle sell milk. Nestle target market is people who buy milk. And then somebody said rice. Not everybody eats rice though. There are some people who would eat quinoa instead of rice. And then you have brown rice and white rice. So if somebody is not buying milk, or somebody goes into the grocery to buy milk, that is your target market. Paper towels. Once again, you won't buy paper towels every single time you go to the grocery. You buy it when you need to restock. You buy the rice when you need to restock. Okay? And then another motive of, essentially, there's not one thing everybody goes in the grocery to buy all the time, every single time. And not everybody buys snacks. Not everybody buy vegetables, but everybody buys food for sure. But I was asking them one thing that they will buy every time they go to the grocery. Okay, so private sector, also another motive is to provide consumer goods, even services, and there's strong competition among firms. So strong competition among firms basically means if you set up a grocery and pay attention to this new trend that I'm seeing happening. And I don't know if anybody else would have noticed this, especially with supermarket. I have been seeing a trend or something that is very, very illustrative of strong competition. Anybody ever notice you would see a grocery, right? You might see a Passage grocery, you might see True Value grocery, and literally 2 blocks away or 2 buildings away, you might see another tiny grocery, or you might see a Extra Foods, or you might see a mini mart right next door, within the same block. Or you see one doubles man on one corner, and 2 corners away, you'll see our next doubles man. Not so? Anybody else notice that? Or even a pharmacy. You go in one mall, every single mall has a pharmacy. Or even two, maybe. Anybody notice that? You see one you see one Rituals. And then on the next corner, you see our next Starbucks. Right? Because they're all after the same market. And when everybody's after the same market, you have strong competition among firms. So when you see term strong competition among firms, that basically means one doubles man on one corner, next doubles man 2 corners down. One grocery on one block, you'll definitely see our next grocery on the next block. And so that is what strong competition among firms are. Same thing with coffee shops now, right? So we all now have an appreciation for public sector, what motivates the public sector and what motivates the private sector. We all got that? Sharon's Intrinsity Mall, yeah, right. You'll see at Sharon's, you'll see at RIK, and you'll see at Nigel and Khan, right? Doubles, Penal. Look, DB, you have 4 doubles people on the same road next to each other. You have 4 supermarkets, 4 doubles, right? Look at that. Okay, so food, you see when it comes to food, especially fast food, strong competition. Any food that is fried up, grill up, barbecue up, ketchup, all kind of thing up, strong competition. Don't know why all the Trinis like food so much. Sorry, not all the Trini. Why we Trini like food so much. For the persons who in Jamaica, you all have that problem in Jamaica. For the students who in Jamaica, what do you see as a strong competition? And do you have situations where you have one supermarkets close by, you start to see coffee shops very close to each other, any sort of fast foods, one block up next to each other? Okay, so this one here, this slide here, I want you all to try to remember and be able to write down these definitions, memorize it, and learn it. Because they will ask you to define a public sector and to define a private sector. And in some cases, differentiate the difference in writing form. So you should know that public corporations are government owned and are in the public sector. Okay, and in contrast, public companies are in the private sector and are owned by private shareholders, also called publicly listed companies. So this is very important, very, very important, and I have it underlined here. Public corporations are in the public sector. Public public companies are in the private sector, also called the publicly listed companies and the private sector. Very important. We all got that? Too many times students make the mistake and confuse these two, public corporations and public companies. So please, 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 please take a note of this. We're good so far? All right. So who here loves quiz? Who here loves a quiz? It's quiz time. It's quiz time. Okay. So I have here, good, good. Fine. I have one person settled. I have here a QR code. If you all could probably scan the QR code, it will take you to a page to do a quiz. And if you can't, you could probably go to this website called johnmyquiz.com and just enter this code 62578. Let me know if you all could get through that. So Shivan, real quick, the previous slide, take a screenshot of this real quick. Fast finishing quarter past 1. So we have 40 minutes again, 40 awesome minutes again remaining. All right, so I'm going back to the slide with the quiz. So tell me, who could see the quiz? Who was able to either scan the QR code or go to johnmyquiz.com. Let's type it into Google, and the code is 62578. Two-way ground we go. Yes, two-way ground we go. You know it. You know it. It used to be quizzes.com, but somehow they changed the company name. Oh, say what? Okay. The code is 62578. So everybody got through with that? If I could have posted in the chat, I can't. But this is how we have to do it for now. You could start it now. Once for those of you who got through, you could go ahead and start it. I will just enter your name. I'll ask you for your name, and then you say start now. It's just one question. This one is just a test, test to make sure you all could get through with it. So you either could scan the QR code or go joinmyquiz.com. All right, so who got through so far? Anybody having problems? And I just want to real quick pull up, let me pull up those of you getting through it. Let's see, let's see. I have some people making some answers here. Or I could see the answers. Don't worry, there are more quizzes. Nice, man. Ole know the thing, ole know the thing. Okay, some of you did not attempt it. That's fine. Good. So I had a good few students say who got it correct. Most of you, or I won't say most of you, only 55 of you got it. Joshua did good. Mayday, all right. Excellent. Aaron, Alicia, Amara, excellent. Faith, excellent. Mayday, Luke, Raheem, Reagan, Yes. Ruby, Shaka. Okay, good. Yifan, Kara. Unfortunately, I have a few persons who didn't answer. All right, so let's go through once again. So the question was, is to fill in the blank, okay? Okay, so those of you got it correct. Great job. All right, Shiniqua, awesome. That was just a little thing I wanted to test out there. So the question was, which sector, the blank sector consists of enterprise owned run by the government, and that was public, which most of you got it correct. Some of you did not, but the answer was public. All right, for those of you got it wrong, what answer did you all put? Did you all put private, or did you all didn't know what to answer it? Okay, talk to me. For those of you got it correct, great job, excellent. Only half of you got it correct. All right. Okay, so I hope somebody brain fell asleep. So if your brain fell asleep, or what was awake? All right, you want your stars, somebody like the stars. All right. If you like your stars, you could probably, I think you'll like the stars more, you know. I feel that will happen. Many of you like the stars. So Levi, Amanda, who said they wanted stars? All right. I had to find a way to give you all stars. Now, okay, good. So we're going to do a past paper question here. Once again, um, this is a question that came in this year past paper 2025. And the question was, differentiate between each of the following pairs of terms. Yeah, you get 600 points. Excellent, Anil. All right. Got it. All right. So private sector, and they want you to differentiate between the following pairs of private sector or public sector. So let us real quick go back to the slides here. What did we say? You said that the private sector, and this was how much? 2 marks? This was 2 marks. All right. So therefore, you have to differentiate between private sector and public sector. So tell me, how would you answer this question? Remember, the private sector consists of companies and organizations owned by individuals whose main sole purpose is to earn a profit. Whereas a public sector are companies and organizations run by the government to provide services, goods and services for the benefit of the population. What do you all think about that answer? Right, excellent. For the students who said, yeah, man, this public sector and private sector thing is easy, I'm watching all the answers now. Awesome, watching all the answers now. I'm watching, I should be seeing, right, strong competition firms. Okay, you want a little extra there. Has no competition. All right, so real quick, um, we say private sector uh, consists of companies owned by private individuals for the main purpose, sorry, of earning a profit by main purpose or sole purpose of earning a profit by providing goods and services. Okay, so that's 1 mark. That's 1 mark out of the 2 marks if I could only spell companies correctly. Okay, and public sector, whereas we could say however, we can either say however or whereas public sector are public sector consists of organizations owned by the government, owned by the government to provide services, and we could say such as hospitals, services such as healthcare, education for the entire population. So those are some of our keywords we have to use inside of there. And some of you would have said a private sector is a business run by individual. Excellent, right? Excellent. Private sector businesses strong, earn profit, and strong competition among firms. Yes, correct, Levi. Y'all have the answers, man. This is easy stuff. And this is 2 marks we get in one time. We got the first one. Oh, sorry, this is 2 marks, yes. Cater for target market. Excellent. Y'all saying some good stuff here, man. You're answering it better than how I would answer it. Public are owned by government and have limited or no competition. Levi, that's a good answer. You might want to elaborate on a little one. Ooh, Danielle, you're real type here, Gil. If this question was 4 marks, you definitely get 4 marks. This answer give me as a answer for 4 marks. Danielle said the public sector is made up of organizations that are owned and operated by the government. Its main goal is to provide services to the public, such as education, healthcare, police, and fire services, rather than make it a profit. These services are usually paid for through taxes collected by the government. So that's an extra mark, if they were given extra marks. Yeah, right? That is a full 2 marks there one time. But you continue and said, on the other hand, private sector includes businesses and companies that are owned by individuals or groups. Their main aim is to make a profit by offering goods and services such as supermarket, banks, and tech companies. Excellent. Key difference between the two is that the public sector focuses on serving the public, while the private sector focuses on earning profits. Now, if they had space on the paper to write all of that, excellent. And if it was 5 marks, it'll give you a whole page to write that. Excellent, excellent answer. You just have to, any exam, see if you can fit it in your space they give you there. Excellent work. Okay. South, private sector, own, awesome. Right, so y'all are given some great answer. Somebody said public sector is part of the economy. That is correct, but that's not the answer that they're looking for. Okay, so excellent, excellent answers. Love it. And this is just this year paper, okay, for 2 marks. How are we? Well, everybody's good? We could move on. Okay. Um last year, 2024, this question came. A major function of the public sector is to, what is the answer? All right. All right. Excellent. Excellent. This is easy stuff, man. Easy stuff, right? Look how easy these questions are. 1 mark, paper 1. All right. Excellent work, Sian. Shiniqua, excellent. Amanda, excellent. Mary, excellent. Easy marks, everybody. Cheyenne, easy marks. Luke, easy stuff. All right. Karina, Nathan, good. Joshua. All right. And okay, so I have one more quiz for you all. One more quiz before we move on to the next topic. This one is, you can do this QR code and the code to enter is 51865916. Now, this one is a little tricky. This next one is a little tricky. Let me pull it up. Let me do it with you all, okay? Done. All right. Let me pull up this one with you all. Easy. All right. You see, easy. Joshua says easy. Is it easy? It's wait for it to pull up on my side. I could do this quiz with you all real quick. 100%. All right. How much? What is the code? The code is 518-659-16. Easy questions. All right. I'll make sure. All right. Don't know why it's moving so slow on my side. Well, most of you said you got it correct, but you seen half of you got it right and half of you didn't get it right. Only 50% of the class got it correct. Hmm. Hmm. Strange. Okay. So real quick, the first question was, I'm gonna do it here with you all real quick. So the first question is, major function of the public sector is to, uh, the options were to make a profit. We know that's not correct because the major function of the private sector is to make a profit. But the question is, the major function of the public sector is to, well, it's definitely not to serve the interests of the shareholders, right? But it is to serve the entire population, right? I have some of you got it, half of you got that one correct, and half of you all didn't. But what's up with that? What's up with that? You all got you got all of yours correct. All right. Completion rate. So 73%. So Aaron got it, Cherise got it, Faith got it. No problem. No problem. All right. The second question is, a blank company is owned by individuals for the main purpose of making a profit. So what company that would be? That would be a private company, right? Private company, we got that. All right, good. Excellent. Easy stuff, right? Now, great job on those of you who would have gotten all correct on the on that quiz. Private. Awesome, awesome. Option two, option two. Yay. All right. Now, publicly listed companies. Just in case you're curious about where you could find information on publicly listed companies, you could find that information on the stock exchange. Remember, we're saying publicly listed companies. We could find them on the stock exchange. You could find them in the newspapers, which I'll show you how that looks like in the next slide. If you go to the New York Stock Exchange, you'll find them there. If you want news about publicly listed companies, you can either go to Bloomberg.com or Forbes.com. You can just follow them on all the social medias, and you could find information about publicly listed companies there. All right, so we have about 20 minutes remaining. So this is what it looks like in the newspapers. So if you were to just any of the newspapers, whether it's Newsday, Express, or The Guardian, and you will turn the pages until you see a page that looks like this. This is where you'll find a list of all the publicly listed companies in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, Faith, you have a question. So this here would tell you what the symbol of the stock looks like, what the ticker symbol, what was the last selling price. Go ahead, ask your question. What and all of this other information, which you will cover in principle of accounts in your POA class, with all of these terms like trailing, your PE ratio, your earnings per share, your yields, your dividend yields, all of that. If you're looking at investments, doing investments and business and passive income, these numbers will be very important in helping you make a decision which stocks to buy, which companies to invest in, right? So we have like Ansa McCall is a publicly listed company. We have Prestige Holdings as a publicly listed company. We have NGL National Gas Limited as well. So that's a good question, Faith. I'll try to see if I can get that information for you. Okay, good. Anybody here owns shares in a publicly listed company by chance? Anybody owns shares in any of these local companies, publicly listed companies we have in Trinidad? Anybody here have shares in Ansa McCall, Angostura? Anybody has shares in TCL? Oh, well, you're probably too young to buy shares anyway. Do you know anybody who have shares in any of these companies? National Farmers. Now check this out. In the US, in America, guess what? Publicly listed companies such as Microsoft, Alphabet, which is Google, Apple, publicly listed companies which are worth billions of dollars. Oh, you have NGO? All right, good. Check this out. Check this out. Publicly listed companies, if you are one of the top publicly listed companies, then you are worth billions of dollars. And it's fair to say most companies that are worth billions of dollars are publicly listed companies. Not public corporations, publicly listed companies or public companies. Right? So anybody here has shares, well, have shares or know somebody who have shares in Meta, which is Facebook. I bet you didn't know Meta was a publicly listed companies. In fact, most products that you use and you have in your possession or you use is from a publicly listed company, you know. How else do you think they would have raised that capital to become such a large company? NVIDIA, yes, all of us have, if you use a graphics card, gaming graphics card, most likely is an NVIDIA chip they're using. And if you're using any AI software or AI machine, most likely is an NVIDIA software you're using, okay? So Procter and Gamble. Procter and Gamble makes all of those shampoos. That's a publicly listed company too. Apple, well, whoever has an Apple phone, that is a publicly listed company. Tesla cars, publicly listed company. Netflix, publicly listed company. $483 billion. That's what it's worth. So Visa card, remember all those debit cards and credit cards we're talking about? That's Visa. $668 billion. So you see how cool publicly listed companies are? What's the benefit? Yes, Coca-Cola, like Coca-Cola in the bottom here. And if you should see it, you could see 30, number 30, $300 billion. Right, we still use Cisco. No problem. That's not a problem. At some point, every networking card or Wi-Fi router has Cisco technology in it. Okay? Johnson and Johnson's shampoos as well. So we all have an appreciation of what publicly listed companies are and how they affect our lives. Okay? And we will see why it is you will never see a sole trader in the billion-dollar club. You'll never be able to see a sole trader. And I'll explain why. Why it is only companies or companies can really be part of the billion-dollar club because they can raise capital through the public. Oh, well, yeah. Well, not too broke, they just can't raise capital, and we'll explain why. Okay, so think about it before you buy that Coca-Cola. You might want to buy shares in Coca-Cola before you use that Visa card or debit card. You might want to buy some shares in these. Because look, it's worth billions. Look, this company, Amazon, that we all buy products from, $2 trillion. Yes, NVIDIA net worth there. NVIDIA is $2.8 trillion. Trillion with a T, Aaron. Trillion with a T, right? So before you think about buying a product from Amazon, you might want to try and buy shares in Amazon too. Because if you buy shares in Amazon, depending on how much shares you buy, you get part of this action. You get to be part of a company that is $2 trillion. So if you bought shares in Amazon and it's worth $2 trillion now, and 5 years from now, it's worth $3 trillion, guess what? Your share value has increased, correct? So it's worth understanding and appreciating publicly listed companies, not for the products that they offer us and the service that they offer us, but how it can benefit you by becoming a shareholder. And we will be talking about shares and shares on the upcoming classes. Timo is, I believe, that's a Chinese-owned company. I'm not sure if they're listed on the US stock market. But if they are listed, it might be listed on the Chinese stock market. But these are companies listed on the US stock market, right? And of course, if these fellas here, these guys you're looking at here, they are the major shareholders in those companies. So because they are the major shareholders of those companies, those publicly listed companies, and those publicly listed companies are the richest companies in the world. Therefore, they will be some of the richest people in the world as well, right? Okay. And for the ladies, even though this looks like a all boys club here, there are actually billionaire women as well. Okay, so don't feel like, oh, billionaires is only for men. No, there are women who own billion-dollar companies too. And as time goes by, this list hopefully you'll start to see more women in it, in the top 10. But they are there at least in the top 20. Okay, so the question is this. I would have shown you companies that were worth billions of dollars, but they were publicly owned companies. Is it possible that a privately owned company can be worth billions of dollars? Is that possible? can a privately owned company be worth billions of dollars? Well, yes, that is a that happens all the time. In fact, and you know those Mars chocolates that you all like to eat? Mars chocolates, Snickers, all these Skittles here, Starburst, Twix. Did you know that this company is worth $50 billion and it is privately owned? This is a privately owned company. What does a privately owned company mean as opposed to a publicly owned company? Look at this. A publicly owned company here like Amazon. If I want to buy shares in Amazon, I have to be, well, I have to be over 18, of course. But I can go to the US stock exchange and say, hey, what? I want to buy some Amazon shares. And you'll say, okay, Mr. Sinan, here are your shares, here's the commission, here are the fees, go ahead. I can buy those shares, and if I want to sell those Amazon shares, I can do the same. But what if I want to buy shares of Mars chocolates? I want to go buy shares of Mars chocolate. How do I do that? Well, I have to know the owner of Mars and I have to say, well, boy, Mr. Mars, I want to buy some shares. And Mr. Mars will be like, he could either say no, or he could say yes, but I have to pay him $1 billion for it. It could, and in fact, Mars might say, you know what, he's not selling shares to me. He only wants to sell his shares to his family members. Okay, so he has that choice, he has that right. Okay, so earlier, as you would say, privately owned companies cannot sell shares on the stock market. Exactly. And there are advantages and disadvantages of that, which we won't get in, that's not within the scope of your syllabus as to the advantage of privately owned companies versus publicly owned companies, right? And so, Shinko said, I believe publicly owned companies are companies that are owned for the public, whereas privately owned companies are more exclusive. Now, when we say open for the public, right? Or public. Now, once again, we're talking about publicly owned companies. We're not talking about the public sector. So when we say publicly listed companies, the correct term is publicly listed companies because the public does not own it. What it says is that the public has the right or the option to buy and sell those shares. Okay, so let's be a little careful with that terminology because when we say publicly owned, when we really mean publicly listed companies, right? So publicly listed companies are companies that are open for the public to buy and sell those shares, whereas privately owned companies are those more exclusive. Yeah, in a sense, more exclusive. They could refuse, they could choose who they want to sell shares to. And the reason for that is that when you have a share, when you are a shareholder in a company, let me, you and you sell some of your shares to somebody who's going to make your life miserable. That shareholder could be somebody who could create a lot of disputes and arguments. Some people don't have time for that. So if you were to buy shares in Facebook, guess what? You have a vote, you have a choice in who becomes the next director, the next CEO, the next chairman, or the next marketing director of, sorry, marketing officer of Facebook or those companies. You have a right, you have a say when you own shares in a company. And some companies, they don't want any and everybody in their business. Okay? Everybody good? I think I spent a lot of time on that. All right. So before we get into that, I would like to pause for some questions because it seems as though we just have 6 more minutes again. Any questions? In the next class, I'm going to talk about sole traders, partnerships, public limited liability, and unlimited liability. How do you all think you all have problems with those topics? You're having problems with those topics? Yes? No? Oh, somebody have cake to get. Is it your birthday? And which part of sole trader partnerships, publicly listed companies are giving you trouble? And and is it limited liability and unlimited liability is giving you trouble? Which one is giving you the most trouble? So someone said that unlimited liability, bank can seize your assets. Yes, yes, but I would say not just the bank, it's your creditors that can seize your assets. So that's a good answer, but it's really your creditors that could seize your assets. And we'll get to the reason why as unlimited. If I want to purchase shares, whether I have a higher third party or can do it myself, doesn't mean no I need. Yes, you can purchase shares in any publicly listed company. You just have to approach a broker. So you could if you want to purchase shares in a Trinidad company, you have to approach a broker called either Wise, you could approach Bose, securities, they deal with Trinidad listed companies, companies that are listed in Trinidad and Tobago. If you want to buy shares in a company on the New York Stock Exchange, for example, Apple, Nvidia, or Amazon, then you have to approach a broker who sells those, buy and sells those shares. So Interactive Brokers is one of them. Um, you just have to contact them and they will give you the relevant forms to fill out. So bank and creditors. So essentially it's your creditors, George, and your creditor could be a bank, your creditor could be a supplier, your creditor could be a bank or any other financial institution. So think of it like that. Creditors could be your bank, it could be whoever lends you the money, it could be the supplier. Is there Apple here like the phone? And I sure don't, I don't understand. Can you purchase shares from a privately listed company? Actually, you, they, you can purchase it only if they want to sell you it. Buying scrap iron or battery buy. This guy is now passing by me here, right? So they could only you can only purchase shares from a privately listed company if they want to sell it to you. If I hire a broker, do I need to do continuous payment or is it a one? No, you just buy with a broker, you find. If you want to buy 3 shares, you just pay them for the 3 share cost of the 3 shares, and that's it. There's no continuous payment. And then you own those 3 shares, you could hold on to it until you're ready to resell those 3 shares of Amazon. Right? So in POA, yes, you could talk about Apple. No, there's no in Trinidad, there's no Apple headquarters. All we have is just service providers and resellers of Apple items. Yes, let me go back to the public sector. So we just have 2 minutes again. So I do hope you all enjoy this class. Next class, we're going to go into sole trader partnerships. Going to, and we're going to once again do some more quizzes. So tell me, do you all like the new quiz format where you have to go and fill out those forms, fill out the quizzes, or you all good with that? All right, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I guess try cat shoot. A sole trader is one owner only, and we'll get into that. Okay, so I might try cat shoot next time, never know, just to see how it works. What do you say, Ashley? We'll just try to see how that works, or we can stick with this one. Kahoot, sorry, Kahoot. See how that works. All right. That's the slide you wanted there. All right, I'll try Kahoot then. Looks like everybody want. Yes, we're going to do franchises. We may be able to touch on that before the end of the next class. And after that, we could probably either go into marketing or we could go into organizational structures. Organization charts in the following class. All right, so I think that's it. It's 1:15. So do enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you all same time, same place next week. Okay, class? Have a good afternoon.